What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared and welcome back to TechWorks. Today it's going to kind of be a quicker video, but basically it's going to be about why I believe the 8 Plus was actually a better phone for 2018 than the iPhone 10. So last year, in October, November, Apple released the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Basically, the same idea as their phones in the past, same overall design, except instead of having metal on the back, you have glass, which allowed for wireless charging and things of that nature. Other than that, the phones were remarkably the same. New internals like always, a little changed camera setup like always, but more or less the same phone. Now, to say that the phone design was beat is kind of an understatement because it was. I mean, having this same very similar layout has been the norm since the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. The first year they did this big phone design with big bezels. But I think in the end, after everything that we know about the iPhone 10, everything that has happened with the iPhone 10, I find myself using the 8 Plus sometimes more than the iPhone 10, and I'll tell you why. So the one thing that I always use the 8 Plus for more than the 10 is just media viewing. I mean, using this bigger display, this bigger screen, and honestly more accommodating screen is just more convenient. I mean, you have your iPhone 10, you have the notch in the top, so you either have bars, which, is like bezels, or you have a cutout, which could or may not cut off content in your screen. And this one's just a little bit easier. You have a spot for your thumbs, you have a spot for your hands, and you're none the wiser. And it does take up your whole screen versus having a notch. I don't hate the notch. I could take it or leave it. To me, it really doesn't matter. It's just something that's there. But some people do hate it. And to me, I don't really care about having bezels. I, again, could take them or leave them if there's something important there. So my next point is I still like having a fingerprint sensor. Whether it's on the back, like a lot of Android phones, on the side, like some other phones are doing now, under the glass, which I know that tech wasn't around with the 8 Plus launch, or in the front bottom, like Touch ID has been for several years now, I still like it. Because one of my most aggravating points about the iPhone 10 is if it's at night or later or dark, whatever, I pull out my iPhone 10 out of my pocket, I gotta stare at it like this for maybe 15, 20 seconds. That is if it reads my face the first time. And it does do a good job. iPhone 8 Plus, I can have in my pocket, be taking it out, and already have my finger on it and have my phone open by the time I get to it. I'm not fumbling around, unlock, oh, you can't read my face, oh, enter in my password. None of that shenanigans. And I don't understand myself why Apple couldn't have put a fingerprint sensor in the power button like they have done. Not Apple has done, but like other manufacturers have done. That's not a foreign idea. I guess I understand not having it in the back. It's kind of the thing of having this clean, pristine back with no writing, just the Apple logo, iPhone, and in this case, the product red on the bottom. So I understand that, but I still like having a fingerprint reader. And I know a lot of phones now, the Oppo Find X, and all these phones are having, getting rid of fingerprint sensors in lieu of facial ID and in-glass sensors and all that stuff, and that's great. And I love the new tech that's coming out. But I think that it's just a matter of convenience to have that fingerprint reader. And I do like it a lot. And Touch ID, obviously, since its invention, I guess I would say, has become very fast, very accurate, and very foolproof to the point of you can almost guarantee every time you put your registered finger on that pad, it's going to open up and it's going to unlock your phone. So that's definitely a point of contention with the iPhone 10 for me. I love Face ID. I think having it be more secure is always a better option, but it's just a matter of convenience having that fingerprint reader. I know it's never going to happen. I know Apple's not coming back to the Touch ID sensor, but I just think that it is more convenient. So far we got a more content-friendly screen, the Touch ID versus Face ID debate. The insides of the phones are more or less the same. No headphone jack on either. The camera setup is similar, with the iPhone 10 only with having the dual optical image stabilization, where on the iPhone 8 Plus you only have the single lens. The telephoto is not optically stabilized, which if you're doing video with the optical image with your telephoto lens, the OIS definitely helps. But I wouldn't say that is a selling point for me specifically. I do take a lot of photos, but having it on the telephoto doesn't make a world of difference for me. For some, it might. Having a bigger battery in the bigger phone, that makes a lot of sense to me, who's someone who's going to be on their phone a lot. I mean, if you were going to do head-to-head, obviously the battery's going to last longer on this device, but at the same time, Apple, the iPhone 10 uses OLED versus these 8 Pluses, which do not. So if you have dark backgrounds, dark wallpapers on your iPhone 10, it's going to consume less battery. So I know in the upcoming iPhones, the bigger one is going to use OLED, and that'll be nice with a bigger battery and OLED. But for now, the bigger battery is still a plus for me. And really, I think it's just overall, it's been tried and true. And again, you could definitely say the design is beat, and that's, you know, I don't question that one bit. And I know they had to change something, but I still find myself picking up this phone a lot in comparison to my iPhone 10. I think I myself like the bigger phone. The iPhone 10 really is, I would guess, iPhone 8 size. You know, it's in between. It's a little bit bigger than an 8, smaller than an 8 Plus, and vice versa, with its, you know, several different iterations of the style device. So to me, the iPhone 10 is just a little bit too small. I like a bigger device. I read a lot of media, answer a lot of emails, do a lot of things on my device, which having more screen real estate is always helpful. And having that, you know, iPad-like interface when you go horizontal is very nice, to have your messages on one side and your conversations on the other. I mean, that is just nice, and I don't find myself really using landscape texting anymore, but if it's convenient to do so when you need to. So that is a nice side of the iPhone 8 Plus. And it comes down to it, when you look at sales, you know, the iPhone 10 was not as a commercial success as Apple thought it was going to be. It actually did a little bit underwhelmingly, and that's why a lot of people are like, oh, the iPhone 10 is going to get canceled, blah, blah, blah. Not really canceled, it's just going to get redesigned and, you know, consumed. If they released, you know, if they still kept the iPhone 10 and then released 2 or 3 new iPhone 10 style phones, and this come in 2018, you're just cannibalizing sales. If you pretty much release the same phone 2018 as 2017 with little to no difference, you're going to buy the cheaper one. That's how it always works, right? And that's why they always make it just enticing enough to buy the new model and still sell the old one. But when you're going to pretty much release the identical phone, well, there's not a lot of need for that. So looking ahead, as much as I like the iPhone 10 style, I don't care about the notch. And Face ID does work very well in pretty much all situations. I still like the iPhone 8 Plus. I guess it's kind of paying homage to its history. I do like the glass design that they did put in this year, albeit, you know, making it now more expensive to repair and harder to repair. I still like it. It feels very premium. The thinness of this phone is, you know, very slightly thinner than the iPhone 10. All things like that. I like the camera hump being there, not having stainless steel. The stainless steel around my iPhone 10 has absolutely annihilated many a glass screen on another phone of mine. Even on this screen protector, there's tons of scratches from it bouncing up against each other. So I like the iPhone 8 Plus. I've liked it. I've had one before the iPhone 10 came out, and now after the iPhone 10 came out. And really, to me, the whole bezel-less race, I think, at least in my opinion, is just the next gimmick. And I know the future is a bezel-less full-screen phone, and I do like that idea, and it's super futuristic, and is what I always thought was going to happen with technology and cell phones. But the deal is now, really the only new exciting feature about these phones is how can they get as much screen into these bodies as possible with hiding sensors and hiding cameras, and now mechanical mechanisms to push out selfie cameras or rear-facing cameras. And phones have become less exciting. And I remember when this style phone came out, the 6 and 6 Plus, how exciting that was. I know that was the first phone really that Steve Jobs didn't have a hand in, because he didn't think a bigger phone was going to be popular. But with Samsung releasing its Note line, the big phone is popular for a lot of people, myself included. As soon as the bigger phone came out, I immediately got rid of my iPhone 5S and got the 6 Plus. It was cool, it was big, had a lot of screen space, great for games, great for videos, pretty much all sorts of content, and you just have more space in general. And of course, I have this jailbroken, so you can put more icons and all that different stuff that you can utilize with a bigger device and a bigger screen phone. Now, I know pretty much this whole argument is going to be null and void in about 3-4 months when they release the bigger iPhone 10 or iPhone 11, whatever they're going to call it. They release that larger model. This is basically going to be non-existent, because assumingly I'm going to buy that device over the same size, I will have the best of both worlds, I guess. The OLED, big screen, new hardware, good, little more featured camera, and still be with the big form factor, hopefully big battery. I just think they can do more with this size than going compact. There is a time and a place, and the iPhone 10 is certainly a very comfortable device in your hand. It fits well, it works well. It's not too big, not too small. It's kind of right in that good middle area for most people. But people like me, I always think bigger is better. That's just my personal opinion. But I would go for this all the time. And I guess why I pick it up more, because I usually have more battery in here. If I'm gonna watch a video, I'm gonna watch it here. Taking pictures, I will probably always have my iPhone 10 on me, so I use that one instead. But I just go to this. I play games on this over my iPhone 10. If I have a lot to type or read, I'll go on this instead of my iPhone 10. I really don't know why, it's just kind of how it works. So I guess in the end, what that means for me is that in terms of what device I pick up the most, I pick up this guy. And I think it's for all those reasons, that there is, a little bit longer battery life. Like today, I've used it since 6 in the a.m., it's 77%. And I've been on it quite a bit, played a few games, read some emails, watched a video. That's a lot of content for 33%, not bad at all. So with that said, the whole reason for my video is I think there's still a place for a device like this. I think there's a place for people to use this and not the bezel-less mechanical camera, zero border phone, because this still has a spot in the marketplace. And I think that, these phones can be cheaper. I think that they're still going to be popular, even more so popular once Apple does re-release their stuff this coming year, and finally this design kind of fades out. I think you'll see a lot more people be buying the 8 or 8 Plus than the very newest iPhone 10 style iPhones coming this fall. And that's why a lot of people didn't jump ship this fall, was because the design was different enough to make people question it. And simple features such as Touch ID, camera placement, button placement, things of that nature changed ever so much that it made people upset. And having the convenience of Touch ID, which is super foolproof at this point, so many years have went into developing it, making it better and better, this is still relevant. And it's still important, and I still think people are going to purchase this probably equal to, if not more, than what Apple releases in the fall. For the reasons of, I think this was one of Apple's greatest achievements, I guess, in design in the past 5 to 6 years. Certainly not the most innovative, certainly not the most creative. And, if going for design awards, I wouldn't give this anything. But it's very functional and it's very utilitarian to the point of it works, has a lot of great usefulness as far as how you hold it, how you use your phone, consuming media. It may not be the most attractive, it may not be the most elegant design, fancy with curved screens and such, but I think it still has a relevant place. And I think getting rid of it entirely might be a mistake in the end for Apple. So anyway, let me know down below. Do you still like this design, this one that's been around forever and ever, or are you all on board with their new stuff and everyone else's new stuff, the bezel-less, cameraless, notch-infused designs that have been pumped out of both Android and now iOS and Apple companies. So let me know down below. And sorry about not releasing a video yesterday. It's just been crazy hectic in my life, so there is that. Again, I have a Patreon link down below. If you like what this channel does, check it out. If you help, that's awesome, and I very, very much appreciate it. And again, I will see everyone in the next video.